welcome to our Friday, May 23 homeschool day. This just arrived in the mail yesterday. I am so excited to open it up and share it with you. It's still in its plastic wrapping, so I'm going to share that with you today. And I'm also going to finish doing all of the knitting that I need to do in order to teach the class today. There are all the bags. I didn't do any of it last night other than make all of the balls. So today, this morning, it's 7 a.m. So let's see how long it takes me to cast on 10 to 12 rows for about 28 knitting needles. 28 sets. And then I also need to make 6 more sets because there were some children who were absent last Friday. So last Friday was the first day that I did the knitting class and we made our knitting needles. And today we start on our project. And because I only have 2 sessions with them, I'm doing all of the casting on and we're just gonna get straight into knitting. And this was advised to me by other people in the Waldorf world who have taught children for years, and they suggested this. So this is what I'm going to do because this is my first time teaching children this way. I have taught adults before, and we did go through the whole casting on, and that was honestly more challenging than teaching knitting. Okay, so let's get started. This is the book I'm using, Teaching Through Stories, Jane and Jeremy Learn to Knit by Elizabeth Seward. And this is the project that I'm doing. It's the bunny. We are using a size 10 and a half needle because we made our own. We need 2 ounces of worsted yarn. We're actually using bulky weight yarn, and we are using a little bit less than 2 ounces. And 2 ounces of wool stuffing. I actually don't have that yet. I have some, but since I don't anticipate the children finishing today, we're gonna just save that for later. Casting on 16 stitches. I was wrong. I was thinking 10 or 12. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, have the knitting needles. And I'm going to do 1 arm length. Any extra, the only reason why I don't like doing a long tail is because I don't want the children to accidentally knit the tail. So I'd rather there just be barely enough tail. You can tie it off, but I found that that just gets in the way. And so I try to just have barely enough for the tail. So actually, maybe I won't do a full arm's length. And then you do a slip knot. And then this is the method that I learned many years ago. What I have to remember to do is not knit and cast on tight. That tends to be my issue. And I don't want to make it difficult for the children to knit their first row. So I'm trying to be a little bit on the loose side so that it's really easy for them to be able to see where their loop is. Actually, I'm not sure that I'd like this particular yarn. This is 100% wool yarn. I'm not teaching at a Waldorf school, but the principal does want us to use all natural materials whenever possible. Okay, I think I'm gonna need more yarn than that. What are we at? 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, I think I need more yarn. But let's go ahead and finish that out. And then this will be a good measurement for me to see how much more I'm going to need for the next one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, I got to take that out. We need some more yarn. So I'm going from the tip of my finger all the way almost to my other shoulder. And let's see if this works. All right, so that's 16, and now I have like such a long tail. I just tied off the extra yarn. I don't want to cut it off even though I'm really tempted to, because we can use this tail to do the sewing part at the end of our knitting project. Okay, 1 down, 27 to go. I'm done with 11 of them. It's 8 a.m. I'm going to take a break, make some breakfast. We're dealing with a bit of an issue in the kitchen because we have a huge plumbing problem, but let's try to make this work anyway. But first, let's go feed the bunnies. They really love the grape leaves, so I'm going to cut them because they can't reach them anymore. I'm gonna cut some off and put them in the place that they always come to get their food. They're wild bunnies, but they're so adorable. Okay, let's put it where they normally get their food, which is right here, right next to our plumbing issue. Yeah, but hopefully by today we can have access to the kitchen sink again. We needed to empty out so many cabinets for our plumbing issue, but thankfully they didn't have to do anything in the cabinet, so I can put a lot of these things back. So I'm gonna put these back. I'm gonna try to just wash one pan because we really can't use the sink, but just a little bit, it's gonna be okay. And then I'm gonna try to make some eggs for breakfast. What we did was do a couple of dishes, but use a pot to catch the water. And then we threw everything else in the dishwasher because hopefully by this afternoon, this whole plumbing issue should be taken care of. Our plumbing issue is of course unexpected and is slowing us down because it is 8:45 a.m. and I'm still just starting to make breakfast. It's 9:35. We are done with breakfast. We're going to start our lessons at around 10 a.m. We only have from 10 to 12 today. We have Juma, and I'm teaching a knitting class after. So for our morning work, we're going to do very limited morning or opening activities rather. And then definitely our astronomy and our anatomy. We are not going to do any chemistry today other than work in the main lesson book if we do have time. I'm going to spend a little time finishing the prep work for the knitting class today. In that time, my daughter's going to do daily work and key to geometry, and then we'll begin officially in about 25 minutes. So I have to hustle to get all of these done. I've done 11. I have to count how many more I have because I am making a few extra for kids who didn't come last week. Actually, we're going to dive into our opening activities first. It's about 9:50. And I want to share with you this book that I just got yesterday. This one's called Fatima, al-Samarqandi, an inspiring story of a female Muslim hero from the 12th century, a scholar, a jurist, and advisor to the king. These are the kinds of stories that I really love. They're perfect for our history main lesson blocks. I love picture books that are informative And this is, if you're unfamiliar with this type of illustration, I just want to share that there are some Muslim illustrators who won't draw faces. And so if you are the kind of person who appreciates that in illustration, that is the reason why you'll see them faceless. It is just an opinion for some illustrators or for some Muslims to not depict those kinds of details for humans or for animals. And so if that's something that you especially are looking for, then this would be the book for you. And look at the content there. It's packed. This is a long picture book. So we're going to read it today as part of our opening activities, and then I can let you know more about it when we're done reading. However, all of the details on how you can buy this book are already in the description box below. This strong, resilient, and intelligent woman left her mark wherever she went, becoming a beacon of inspiration in her time and for all time. In the year 1182, Fatima departed this world. She is buried at Masjid Ibrahim. She authored numerous books during her lifetime, but over time history, he visited Fatima's grave. They are buried side by side. Fatima's life story stands as an exemplary model, filling hearts with inspiration for the pursuit of beneficial knowledge for generation to come, reminding us to never stop learning, benefiting others through their knowledge, and living a life of simplicity and piety. So it's 10:30 a.m. We are done with this magnificent book. It was more like 3 books in one. It is quite lengthy. It took us about a half an hour to read. That, I think, is the end of our morning activities, our opening activities. We're just running out of time. So we're going to get started directly into our main lesson. We have one for astronomy, and under all of these books, I think we have an anatomy book somewhere. Let me find that because I definitely want to finish our anatomy lesson for today. All right, there's the muscles and bones book. Let's actually do our mental math first. It's very quick since we're caught up. 1/3 of 9. It's 10:35. We're going to start our muscles and bones. We have chapter 47, the shape of the skull, and 48. So we're going to go ahead and read those now. But next week, even though we are going to be fully into our astronomy main lesson block and chemistry, we're still going to do chemistry. We will be spending probably that entire week doing the work that goes along with all of these lessons, which means all of the narrations for the main lesson book and any of the illustrations that we need to do. And since we've read probably 10 chapters, probably more than 10 chapters, that's going to be a lot of work that we need to do. It's not ideal to do this. I don't recommend it at all. It's much more important to be doing that main lesson book work as you go through your lessons, or, a day or two after the lessons. This is what's happened in this week of just having a lot of other obligations and lessons and other things going on. And so I will spend part of Sunday, possibly part of Saturday, if possible. We do have a lot of obligations this weekend to try to get some of those lessons put onto paper. Thursday is the day that I typically do a lot of this, but Thursday ended up being a day of working with all of the knitting, which did not get done. And we had a shortened day for my daughter's in-person classes. And so those two factors, along with a plumbing issue, really complicated getting my work done that I typically save for Thursday. But the skull, taken as a whole, cranium, face bones, jaw bones, is an image of threefold man. The dome of the cranium contains the brain, the center of the nervous system. The nose leads to the lungs, which belong to the rhythmic system, and the mouth leads to the stomach, which belongs to the digestive system. So we end these lessons about the anatomy as we began with the threefoldness, which can be found in all parts of the human body. And that concludes this book. We read 2 chapters. It is now 10:50. My daughter really wants to play Destination Mars. So let's see if we can do that game really quickly and then move on to Mysteries of the Universe and the Astronomy, also by the same author, Charles Kovacs. We don't always use the Charles Kovacs books for our main lessons. We tend to use the Live Education Waldorf curriculum, but I'm really enjoying using these because it's different from the curriculum that we've been using for many years. and we do sometimes try to use them in conjunction with each other, but in this case for our anatomy, we ended up using the muscles and bones almost exclusively, just because the very first lesson in our anatomy main lesson block by Live Education didn't really fit with us very well. And rather than trying to work through those lessons and find the lessons that were going to work with us, we just started with the Charles Kovacs book. So same with the astronomy, we are starting with this book, and we did read already one chapter, but I am going to go back to the Live Education main lesson book for astronomy. We've used it several times over the years. I have 4 children, homeschooling my last one now, and that book is incredible with its way of teaching astronomy. Time for, actually, let's do this one first. We're going to do the sun's daily movements. This is chapter 16. Let us look at the connection between the sun and the breathing of the earth. This is a permanent winter at the poles and a permanent summer at the equator, while in between the seasons of change. It's about 11:05 and we are working on this chapter, but of course we had to break and talk about watching or observing where the sun rises and sets in the summer in our home versus rises and sets in the winter, again in our home. And then this ended up being a discussion on fasting, because of course we fast with dawn and dusk, and then fasting in other parts of the globe, like for instance in Alaska, or even going farther north where the days are extremely long in the summer, and how we would do fasting in the summer there or in the winter. So sometimes this is what happens with a lesson. Actually, not sometimes, almost all the time, this is what happens with a lesson. So we are reading from a book, which is not a very Waldorf thing to do. But when we do this, it also allows us, or not when we do this, but when this happens and I'm going to be reading from a book, I do tend to pause and have discussions about the content. If I am reading this ahead of time and presenting it, almost always the lessons go much longer. We end up having richer discussions. It's more dynamic. So I do prefer that. But on a day like this, when we simply don't have the time or I haven't prepared, then this works just as well. And we did that almost entirely with Muscles and Bones, where we read the chapter aloud together. It's not ideal, but in reality, this is what happens a lot of times with our lessons. We can also observe the difference which the angle makes in a single day. Even on a hot summer's day, it is cooler in the early morning and towards the evening because the sun rays come in at a lower or a more acute angle. It's 11:20 and I have to go to Juma at 12 noon. However, I believe the rest of the family is going to a different Juma, like around 1:15. So I'm going to make lunch now, and then my daughter's going to work on Key 2 geometry rather. I'm going to see if she can help me with a little bit of the knitting prep while I go make some food. And then if we have time, we will read a little bit of this book. This is a really enjoyable book, and it's just been such a joy to read through. So I'm going to see if we have a little bit of time to read this after I prepare some food. Food should be like super fast to prepare. It's about 11:45. We are down to the wire. We still have some more the knitting prep to do. We have to leave for Juma in like 10 minutes. I think we might be a little bit late. I've cast it on for all of the students who had knitting needles, but I have an additional 6 bags and some more dowels to make some more knitting needles for the students who weren't here. However, we don't have time. It's 12:05. We got to do this the fast way. So I'm going to be using my sharpener to make these. That's good enough. I'm going to use some sandpaper to file them down and really quickly put on a dowel at the very end, or sorry, a finial at the very end. It's 12:10, time to sand these down. I've got a little bit of sandpaper. I got to glue on the finials. I got to leave here in 5 minutes. What time is it? It's really late. It's really late. Okay, let's try to do this. 12:11, time to glue. $12:14 and these are done. I'm gonna let them dry while I get ready and finish packing up the belongings that I need to take for class. And then we gotta be out of here really fast. It's 12:17. I'm going to add knitting needles. They're not quite dry. And 1 ball of yarn into each bag. And when we get to the school, if there are students who don't have knitting needles and yarn, I will cast on at that point or ask one of the other teachers to do that because we gotta go. 12:28, running late. $12:42. It is so packed today.
But I remember in that thing, I highlighted this part because I was surprised that he will talk the work that you do within your home. Less means less if we fail our families. It starts at home with humility.
It's 2:22 p.m. We're not quite done, but boy, this was tough. It's 4:30 p.m. Our school day is done. Our knitting class is done. Have my bag, time to put all the extra knitting supplies away. Boy, was that an experience. So much respect for the handwork teachers who are teaching first-time knitters. I learned so much in the process. We're definitely gonna have to reconfigure how we're doing this for next year and get a lot more volunteers involved. Anyway, I don't have much time at the moment. I really want to do a couple of things in preparation for our lessons for Monday technically, but I think we're gonna have to do a little bit of work on Sunday. But I have an event to go to tonight, and my daughter right now is in sports, and so that is the conclusion of our week and our Friday. Thank you for following along, and I'll see you Monday.